Alrighty guys, so I'm going to be breaking down today how I made $18,000 in total net P&L. So I took two trades today, both the same trade idea, two just different types of entries. So first and foremost, as you guys can see, I ended up starting the day with a loss of $9,500. Then I ended up making $27,675. As you guys can see, my P&L for the day is $18,100 exactly flat. And I don't pay any commissions because I'm using a no commissions account. And you can even see here, the spreads on the no commissions account are not that bad. And typically the spreads are a little bit larger, so you guys can trade with the same brokerage with the link in the description. So I'm going to break down this trade for you guys here. So this is what the trade kind of looks like here on TradingView. This was actually on a separate portfolio. So with the overall R multiple, I ended up getting just around a 5 R multiple on this trade, a 5.18 R multiple. I closed my trade a little bit earlier than I kind of wanted to, but that's okay. You know, I still gained over like a 4.8 R on this position. So first and foremost, what it comes down to is understanding where the trapped market participants are and where we're actually generating value and we're actually generating a volume here. So overall, it's kind of like a super slow and shitty Monday. It didn't end up catching this move to the upside. But one thing I want you guys to identify here on this volume profile chart is the market found value in two areas today. We have built and found value here roughly around the 64.71s. And we pushed up higher and started generating value here at 64.70. And all this simply means is that there's a lot of volume being transacted here. So when you have a lot of buy and sell orders coming in and out of the market, these are going to be the two areas where the market participants have found value. So with that being said, my goal is to identify where market participants are finding value, identify who the trap participant in that situation is, and where we could potentially see price continue. So in the situation where we see volume started to generate here at the high of the day, or technically the high of the session and above the value area high, really the question remained was, are we going to see price push up or are we going to see price reverse and come back down? And if we see price push up, where could we potentially see price push up to? And to me, that was going to be this high of the trading session overall, which is going to be roughly around 64.87 and then potentially all the way up here at 64.94 if we were to push up. If we were to revert back down, I would be looking for price to come down into this area of previous value at 64.71 and then potentially the value area low where we could then see maybe some trapped selling. Now my job here is to identify whether we see trapped buying in this area or if we see trapped selling. If we see a lot of trapped selling in this area, meaning that sellers are coming into the market aggressively and they're failing to break price lower, then most likely we're going to see a breakout to the upside. And what tools can we use to actually identify that are going to be, number one, a footprint chart, and number two is going to be a heat map here as well. So if we actually go on the heat map and we go all the way back up into this area, what we can see here is an A+ absorption reversal setup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this, I'm going to pretty much make these bubbles really large. And if we look at the high of the trading session and this entire area of resistance, we really see a lot of buying come into the markets, and all of this buying was sitting here for maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes getting unpaid. So all of these buyers were attempting to push price higher for 15 minutes and they were unrewarded. You guys can see there's a lot more green bubbles, a lot larger green bubbles as well than we have red bubbles, meaning that there's more orders coming in and aggressively hitting the ask compared to the bid. Now in this situation, what we have here is you guys can see all of these purple numbers here. All this is going to mean are orders that are getting filled on the ask. So we have a lot of offers getting filled, meaning we have a lot of passive sellers weighing this market down. And you guys can see all of the passive sellers waiting to get filled up here. So my very first short position was actually here inside of this area at 64.79 when this aggressive selling came into the markets, because I wanted to see the trap buying, I wanted to see follow through with aggressive selling, and my stop was just above this high here, which I got stopped out very quickly. Now what we can see is we see a lot of buying come into this market yet again above the area of resistance, above this 64.81 and above the original absorption that we have over here. So I like to mark up where my original absorption actually is. And since my first trade of the day actually failed and hit stop loss, it doesn't mean the trade is invalid, because there's two types of setups. You have an A setup absorption reversal and you have an A+ setup absorption reversal. Sure, in hindsight, I could have waited for the A+ setup absorption reversal, but you have to think about like mental fatigue and all these different factors that come into trading and sitting in front of the chart for so long. So we've seen aggressive buying come into the market, and what we see is these large offers get filled here for about almost 280 contracts in total. And these are large single orders. So we have large passive sellers entering the market here. And what we see is trapped buying at this high of day and unpaid buying. Notice throughout this entire resistance range here, when we broke out through this high, this is when the buyers got the most aggressive with 580 contracts. And we see a little more buying come in with 109 contracts, and then we see a reversal. So as soon as we reclaimed beneath this area with aggressive selling, we popped back up into this area, and I saw aggressive selling start coming back into the markets, is when I executed myself short. Now what that looks like on a footprint chart, which I'm looking at this footprint chart here as well, is you can see where these large heavier deltas are coming into this market. This is where we're starting to see a lot of the trap buying, and we see the breakout to the upside. We see larger deltas coming into the markets, larger positive deltas coming into the markets. Next cluster opens up, immediate aggressive selling comes in. So that's a really good sign for my specific position, especially like if we actually take a look at this area here. I'm going to move this drawing down to this negative 500 delta. This is kind of the area where that original absorption started to happen here. You guys see how we pulled back, retested that area. We see some buying come in and immediately fail. So once I saw that, I immediately executed the trade again with my stop loss above where we have the trapped buying overall in these large deltas. And then as you guys could see, if we go back onto ATAS, consolidated there for a bit. We had a little bit of a breakout, the pullback, and then we slowly broke out to the downside, hitting full take profit. So again, guys, the whole thesis behind this trade was trapped buying at the high of the trading session, and we reverted away from value. So I guess you could label this off on a journal as a mean reversion setup, which really we're looking for price to come back down into this value area low, because we're looking for price to push through the other side of value. And the whole thought process is that if we see that we can't create value higher after we already created value here at this 64.80, and we saw a lot of orders transacting and we see trap buying, then most likely we're going to see the market come down to see if we can create value lower and continue to go down from there, which is why I set my take profit at that value area low. Not too extreme, but at the same time, a little bit away from where we originally were generating and accumulating volume inside of this area here. So super simple, super easy trade, 5R multiple. That trade took around, let's call it about 2 hours or so, a little bit of a longer trade, but 2 hours for a 5R is still super, super solid. Again, all using ES order flow data to my advantage. And again, like, if you're somebody that you're trading like prop accounts and different things along those lines, this is where getting these huge R multiples would be super valuable to you, because now you're really starting to build like a really large buffer. It doesn't even matter if you're trading with Forex prop firms either. You can still use ES order flow data to your advantage. So other than that, guys, I will see you guys in the next video.